Hi everyone and welcome back to my digital painting tutorial. We're just going to go ahead and jump right in. By the way, my brush is at 32% and the opacity is at 32% and the hardness is about 28. So let's go ahead and start with the ear. We have it a bit blocked off, color blocked from the previous episode. So right now what we're going to do, let's pick up some of these darker shades we have and just kind of sketch in where the deeper shadows will go, and there'll be a shadow under the curve of the ear here. So I'm going to go ahead and, reaffirm that. There'll be a shadow under the curve of the skin here and around here where the earlobe goes. I'm going to pick up a darker color I have here, and this is mostly just to save time so I don't have to select it. If I don't like it, I can always go in and tweak it a bit. Darker color here and here. Looks a bit better. Let's pick a mid-color tone here. This one will do. And we have, just the start of her hair around here. I'm just probably gonna not worry too much about painting over that. So it's color this area. I'm gonna leave a little bit there for a highlight. I'm gonna color here, and I'm gonna color the mid-tone here. And let's just go ahead and work on some of the ear areas. So I'm just going to add a few more highlights, work in those shadows. I'm picking up the colors as I go to kind of blend them in. And it's a little bit better. Her ear shape's a little bit wonky. I think this should come out a bit like that. And this comes out a bit like that. There's some curve, I can't quite remember it off the top of my head. Curves look something like that, and then sometimes there's a bit more there. And let's just go ahead and pick up another dark color and add it in there. Okay. Let's see how that looks. A little better defined, a little bit more. Now what I'm going to go in and do ears, because they're actually kind of thin-skinned. If they catch the light at all, they're usually very, very red in here. So I'm going to take kind of a deep red color, and I'm just going to throw it in there a bit, like that, and like that, just a little bit, and maybe a little bit here, and maybe a bit here. Oops, it's a little more than that than I wanted. Okay, so now I'm going to go out. That's looking okay. Some of her ear will likely be covered with her hair, so I'm not going to worry too much about detailing it. The final blending for this will probably be a little bit help to define these areas a little bit better so they're not quite so blocky. And I'll likely go in with a real bright color and just kind of highlight, make my brush small and highlight, some of these a little bit. Even if it's in a shadow area, just because it'll, catch some of the light. That'll just kind of define some of the tips. But right now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the nose. So her nose right now, it looks really wide in this bridge area because when I blocked in the colors, I didn't quite line it up the way I needed to. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this and kind of work this color over a bit. And I'm going to blend light here because we don't want it, it's a curve. Her skull is curving here where her eye is. So work that over. I'm going to go ahead and change my opacity down a bit to make it a little easier working with this without going overboard. So I'm going to take this darker color and work it down a bit, and all the way down around her nose here, and maybe a little bit out here where her skin's a bit more sunken in. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. I'm going to take this, and I'm actually, what I'm doing is moving in the bridge a bit here, just by making it kind of a universal color. Okay, now I'm going to want this a little bit darker, so I'm going to pick up kind of a dark area of that, bring it down, and I'm going to make it a little bit redder, and just work that color in a bit. And this is a little bit darker than I want, so I'm just going to go ahead and work a little more color over there. And I'm just going to finish this off by sort of blending that area. And then this should be more universally dark. Okay, so now we have a little bit more blocked in how I like. I'm going to blow this up a little bit more, work on these nostrils. And these will be very, very dark. I'm going to go ahead and pick up this dark color I used for her mouth and work them in. Let's see. Let's make it so her nostrils come down like that. It's a little bit more. And then just fill that in. This is even going to go darker than this, but for right now, and we'll just show I have that there. And we'll work on fixing that. Give it a little bit of a shadow there. And I'm going to bring this color in. Show where her nose is. Blow this up. Well, I'm using the bracket keys on my keyboard. One way makes them bigger, one way makes them smaller. Or one bracket, I should say. You know, the starting bracket makes them slower, the ending bracket makes them bigger. I'm just going to bring that in a little bit. And this is, what I'm doing is bringing this line in by expanding this area here. Okay. So that looks a little bit more nose shape. This needs to be a darker shadow here. So what I'm going to do is pick this up and work it so it's like right under her nose tip here, and then comes around and goes up here. I'm leaving this area a little bit lighter because that'll be the highlight of the nostril. And this part needs to be pretty dark, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that color up. And just sort of, add it in there. Make it nice and dark, and I'm going to bring that up the nose a bit. So it's not just a sudden line. What I'm doing is just picking up the color around it, and I'm going to take this, bring it out. Maybe a little bit of a triangular shape, just because the way the nose is shaped. And then just work that there. Okay, so that's the start of that. Looks a little bit better. I'm going to go in and make this area even darker now. Oops, I'm going to pick this color up, make it dark but sort of saturated, and that's not quite dark enough. Let's see. Pick that color up, make it dark but in the saturated zone. Yeah, that's a little better. Well, there we go. Make a real nice deep shadow. And I'll go ahead and add this down here. We'll add this a little bit more where her nose is. Maybe put that there. And I'm going to erase where this was kind of like the starter lines. I'm going to go ahead and erase that so it looks nice and bright over here. Bring a little bit of a shadow in this area, the nostril. And a little bit more of a highlight here. Make that stand out. Darken this area where the shadow is going to be. I'm going to pick this color up here to do it because that's about around the same area of the midtones. And I'll blend that in. Remember, this area should be pretty dark, so I'm going to go ahead and make kind of a triangular area here, just where, you know, the shadow from this shape bulging and this shape bulging. I'm going to add a little bit dark there and then blend it in. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to take this, carry this shadow down all the way down her lip area, blend that in. And she can have a little bit here, maybe where her cheek will and her lip will meet and it'll stick out a bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to take a highlight, and I tend to use my highlights kind of yellowish to begin with. I'm going to lower this brush size and let's make the highlight kind of right. It's not quite bright enough. Right where her nose tip is. That's just right where the light is catching it at this angle before it goes into the shadowed area. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, the brush a little bit smaller, and I'm going to add a little highlight on where else the light might be catching. Definitely on this side, a little bit under the nostril, as weird as that sounds. And maybe just a little bit here. Okay, it looks kind of shiny now, a little bit more, you know, just dynamic if you add those highlights and stuff. And to finish it off, I'm going to take black, as black as it gets. I'm going to hit that D key and it's going to reset this color palette. And I'm just going to go in and etch this a little bit of black in here. And then blend it in. So it's nice and black. Okay. And this should come out a little bit. Her nose looks a bit weird. Her nostrils should be kind of with these shadows here. Okay. And then I've decided it's a little too dark, so it's okay. I'm just going to pick up a surrounding color, make it a little bit less dark. There we go. So let's go back. Her nose looks a little bit more defined now, a little bit more realistic. And we've worked on her ear. It looks okay. It's starting, I'm going to probably, let's just go back to it real quick. Sometimes it's good to just sort of work on something. I know some people like to finish this area completely and then move on. I think it's better to just work on things and then come back to it and see, like, well, I've made this area look kind of like it's showing red through, but then this area doesn't look like it. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of this before the end of the video and blend that in, and a little bit down here. Oh. Okay, so that looks a little better. I might bring this up a bit more. I'm gonna need to make this darker. Just those few little, you know, things you want to tweak about it before, you know, really finishing it off. It's good to take a look at them. I think I'm going to end the video now just to make these a little more manageable. In the next one, I'm going to go through finishing the details of her skin. We'll do a little more detail down here on her neck and shoulder area. So I hope you're still enjoying these videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.